Easy now, folks. Check this out. I have built a overhead sump stroke aquaponics system and incorporated it into my Juwel Rio. The idea is to try and soak some nitrates, etc. out of the Malawi tank. Something I've been thinking about for a while, and I have made some small attempts. For example, we've got some Anubias in different places in the tank, but it is a slow grower and not likely to soak up a lot of nitrates. We had a Pothos stuck in the tank, which is this vine kind of plant at the back. But what was happening is the fish kept eating the roots, so he wasn't doing so well. And this is my next response. Not only did I think it was a good idea, as you know, I'm a serial tinkerer, and I thought it would be a nice project for an afternoon. So I already had this overhead sump that I scavenged from another tank. If you're wanting to do similar, I'm sure there's lots of videos online that can show you how to make an overhead sump. But like I say, I had this one sitting there, and it was just perfect for the job in terms of its dimensions. It's already been cannibalised a wee bit, I think, and tinkered with, but it'll do the job. Found this wee Aquaponics pump in the cupboard, and that is going to push the water up into the sump above the tank. And in terms of tubing to connect it all together, well, it's the perfect size for the tubing off my larger gravel vac. Fits each of the pieces perfectly and snugly, so I'm going to steal that as well. But basically, that's all I need to put the sump section together. The next challenge was going to be how to place it on the tank, bearing in mind the Juwel Rio has a nice hood. In order for this to work, I'm going to need to balance it across the support bars, which I'm not suggesting is a good idea for everybody. I'm not recommending it, but I judged it as something I think I could get away with. There's not a lot of water going to be running through it. Therefore, it's not going to be too heavy, and I think the braces can take it. But also, you see that curved section at the back there? I need to avoid that, or it's going to be tilted. And also, I need to avoid the lighting system there. So there's not a lot of space to work with, and I need it to be really accurate when cutting into the lid then. So the idea was to do this very carefully. Measure twice and cut once, because once I chopped into the lid, there was no going back. I did this about 3 or 4 times before marking out where the sump was going to fit, because I wanted it to be as neat as possible. I don't want a large gap around it. That would only lead to excess evaporation and heat loss, so I wanted to get this right. I had removed the hood handles because they were going to get in the way, so better to pop them out and worry about them later on. Planning ahead, I had purchased a rotary tool. Thought that would be the best thing for the job. However, even if it did work, it's going to take me about 47 years to cut the shape out that I needed. Eventually I decided it was just better to get a straight edge and make several firm passes with a Stanley blade, being ever so careful, of course. I wouldn't want to hurt myself, but also I wouldn't want to leave unwanted marks in the hood. And this is what I'm left with. Look at the state of it. Sorry, Juwel. I was concerned it would leave the remainder of the hood a little bit flimsy, but it's still got a lot of rigidity there, which is a testament to how well these hoods are made. Anyone wondering about if their cat's sitting on top of it, is it a problem? You're fine. And with a few more tweaks, we were able to get our sump into place. The next bit was pretty easy. Jammed the pump in behind the filter outlet, added the cannibalised gravel vac and ran it into the spray bar. Next, it was time to test it. It worked perfect. Only thing is, it's a little bit noisy. Fortunately, had a piece of Juwel Rio aquarium hood cut exactly to the right size and shape that I could place on top of it if I wanted to to drown out some of the sound. However, it's not just meant to be a sump. Remember those nitrates we're trying to remove? Ultimately, the idea is to put some plants in at several sections along the way. I don't really want to chop into this piece in case I want to use it one day. It kind of looks like it's meant to be, right? However, some of you will know I've been making lids out of this polycarbonate sheets recently, and that little bit of offcut there is going to do exactly the job. All I needed to do was cut it to size and drill some holes in it for the plants to go through. Finally, the rotary tool earned its keep. Not only did it do a nice job of slicing the polycarbonate sheeting, it was also handy for marking out the holes where the plants were going to go, so that I could drill them out outside later. Before that, in order to truly make this a Sump Aquaponics combo, we needed to get some filter media into the sump, so I went for some cool sponge and then some nice polyfill or polishing pad. The length of these, what do you call that, plates, are kind of shorter each end of each chamber. So the idea is to have the filter media in the middle there and the plants at each end of that. Therefore, I can remove the media whenever I want to for maintenance without interfering with the roots from the plants. All that remained then was to feed the roots of the plants through the holes that I'd cut in the polycarbonate lid. It was slightly awkward because I'd left the hole so small, but that was to help trying to reduce some of the noise that was coming out. I could have, of course, cut the holes wider, but then it might be a little bit more noisier. That's maybe not a concern if you're in a fish room, but this room is a family room, so I don't want to get told off by Mrs. DKF. I'm using peace lilies mainly, but I'm also sticking that pothos into this, so I found these clips are quite useful. Just stick the sticky back plastic onto the base of it. Place it on a surface that you want to, either at the back of the tank or the wall, whatever. Put your vine through the main section and then twist it off to hold it in place. It's a nice way to train your pothos where you want it to go. And there we go. A nice overhead sump aquaponics system for our Juwel Rio. Sure, I've not done everything perfectly. I'm sure there's easier and better ways of doing some of the things that I've done there. And if so, put it in the comments to help everybody out. But I'm pretty happy with the project. And I'm off to buy a new gravel vac. Later.